Assignment 5.4 is going to focus on analyzing graphs of polynomial functions. So before we actually go into graphing, there's some vocabulary here that you need to be aware of. So one of the words that we're going to be using a lot that we've been using is zeros or x-intercepts. So as you can see in this graph here, there's 3 zeros. So those are our zeros. They're also called roots and x-intercepts. But today we're actually going to be seeing where they fall in between. So like for example here, we would say there's a 0 between -4 and -3, a 0 between -1 and 0, and a 0 between 1 and 2. Other words that you've seen before are maximum and minimum, but for quadratic, there was only either a max or a min, and it was the highest or lowest point of the whole graph. When you have polynomials, they can have more than one max and min. These are not called maximums and minimums, they're called relative maximums and minimums. So like up here, we have a maximum point, but this is called a relative maximum. And that's because it is a high point, but it's not the highest point in this whole graph, because this graph's going to keep going up here. So it will go higher, but for this little area that it's in, it's a maximum point. So we call it a relative maximum. Here we have a low point. So this is called a relative minimum. And that's because for the area that it's in, it's a low point. But again, it's not the lowest point on this graph because it's going to keep going down. So these are the 3 vocabulary words we're going to be using for this lesson. Relative maximum, relative minimum, and zeros. Now, when you're looking at a table, you can also identify where this is going to happen even before you graph, because we have things called turning points. So I'm going to start by showing how to identify zeros on a table. Your zeros, it's when your y is 0. That's always going to happen if you don't see the 0 on the table where the numbers change sign. So example here, between 2 and -3, there's going to be a 0 because the sign changes from positive to negative. So there's a 0 here, and it's going to occur when you're talking about your zeros, you want to use your x's. So it's going to occur between -1 and 0. Now, if we continue here from -3 to +4, it also changes signs. So there's another 0 here because again, it's changing from negative to positive or vice versa. And that's happening between x is 0 and 1. So we would say between 0 and 1. Now, you can also identify your relative maximums and minimums. You look for where it starts to go up and then down, or either down and then up. So for example, up here, it goes up to 29, but then back down to 24. So that means right here, there's a turning point, or a relative maximum. And this occurs when x equals -4. And that's because, again, it goes up and then down. So this is a high point. So if we continue to look for more turning points, now our number goes down, 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 down. And then after it reaches -3, it starts to go up again. So here at -3, there's another turning point. And we would say at what x that happens? At x equals 0. Since here it reaches a low point before it starts to go back up again, that means it's a relative minimum. Now, you'll be doing this using the graphs, but I just wanted to show you that you could see these by looking at the tables as well.